Tomorrow is daylight savings time for many of you in the United States, but this doesn't affect us in Japan, but it got me to thinking about where this custom came from. In fact, time is very much an arbitrary construct, though we've found it convenient to organize our movements around ticking clocks and calendar days. You can just look at what happened in 1752 when, to adjust for the movement that of the planets and everything that had caused the calendar to get off sync, they adopted the Gregorian calendar, named after Pope Gregory, and this involved dropping 11 days to kind of reset the clock, so to speak. And apparently there were riots, the riots of 1752, give us back our 11 days. Although this apparently may be an urban myth, but we'll leave that for the historians to debate. Back to daylight savings time. For some, the way that we used to be taught to remember it is spring forward, fall back. And even as a child, I was never quite sure exactly what that meant, but apparently what happens is you move the clocks forward on daylight savings time, and then they are moved back again in the fall. So, and this is a huge annoyance for many people because it almost inevitably involves forgetting, although some clocks are reset automatically, you may not have that in your mind, and sometimes and apparently maybe almost more than half of the population who have been surveyed in the United States would be just as happy to stop observing daylight savings time. So daylight savings time, where did it start? Well, apparently it started in World War I with some European nations shifting the clocks forward to give more hours of daylight on summer evenings and to save energy. And this was also adopted in the United States during both the First and the Second World War. But it wasn't officially put into law until 1966 under President Lyndon B. Johnson. And now we just take it for granted as if it's always been that way. And there are people who are questioning, well, do we need to stick to that? Well, apparently so for the time being. But you might think about, when we think about time and calendars and clocks, it's really adjusting our lives to an artifice in a sense. Now, obviously, you need to do that to be able to meet people at the right so-called time. But in fact, if you think about time in more flexible ways, or how to save time, it's not just a matter of adjusting your clock. Think how much time you might waste on social media or with people who drain your energy. And that's has a huge impact on your life. And think how much time you can save even just by getting some good advice or good mentorship or good coaching. That can sometimes save months, even years, by having you make a good decision. And there's also the matter of timing. When your timing is good, when you're in flow, it's incredibly efficient. It's just so far beyond anything that any time management system could possibly achieve. So for me, I'm far more interested in synchronicity and how you and serendipity and how you encounter these lucky moments and lucky people, and how you live your life in such a way that you're not bound by the clock and not bound by the calendar, except when it's necessary to catch a train or something like that. But for the most part, you go beyond this artifice and tune into a different time. Let's call it universal time. And that to me is a much more exciting way to think about it. But set your clocks if you're in the countries where that needs to be done. And just hopefully having thought about this for a few minutes might give you a new perspective on this and help you stay on your passion pathway.